All right, good Monday evening, everyone. It is 6:30 on this July 14th. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich has the entire week off, and he is thoroughly enjoying his vacation in Hawaii, and we send him our best wishes. In the meantime, we're dealing with the heat, humidity, and of course, pop-up showers and thunderstorms. That same pattern that we've been talking about over the past month is what we have in the forecast for this week ahead, with a couple of tweaks to the forecast as well. Now, right now, we are dealing with a couple of strong thunderstorms out there that have mainly set up over towards Union County. You can see, look at that cluster of thunderstorms. This has really grown in strength within the past half hour. So a lot of positive lightning strikes with this system, which is actually louder than negative strikes. We also seen a couple of downpours starting to develop over towards portions of East Charlotte as well. Midland, Unionville, Monroe, Marshville. This is a cluster of thunderstorms that has really started to grow together, and it was tagged to have 40-mile-per-hour winds as well as some pea-sized hail as well. A couple of other downpours we're seeing extending over towards Stanley County, Norwood, Ansonville, Wadesboro, also getting in on some of the action as well. I do want to go ahead and take a live look over downtown Monroe if we actually have some of that. Oh, beautiful. Okay, you can see some rain droplets. This is from downtown, courtesy of Mr. Sparky. You can see some rain droplets on there, but our other Monroe camera, which I have been seeing the same wasp over the past 2 hours.
It's just hanging out.
It's just hanging out. You know what? I think it broke our camera. Okay. Well, now it's gone. You can see some storms off into the distance. So this is, again, one of the areas that we were looking at for those strong thunderstorms. Doppler radar, you can see it's been kind of quiet here in the Charlotte area. Basically, if you live in between I-40 and I-85, we have no rain to track. Much of that activity is extending up towards our foothill counties as well as east of 77. And you'll notice a little bit of that outflow boundary coming out of these thunderstorms is developing other downpours right alongside that line. We did have a couple of strong thunderstorms over towards Lancaster County, producing a lot of lightning. We had 66 lightning strikes within that system about an hour ago. Now you can see it has completely dissipated. And now our strongest thunderstorm over towards Unionville, Anson, extending all the way into Wadesboro, Chesterfield getting in on the action as well, Cheraw, Society Hill, all the way into Patrick. Now you can see this is a radar loop over the past hour. These storms are very slow moving. They haven't gone anywhere, but some of them have dissipated. So as we head into this evening, that is going to be the threat for tonight. A little bit higher in elevation. This is what I was talking about. North of I-40 over towards portions of Love Valley, Little River, Yadkin Valley, extending all the way up into northern Burke County. So for today, we do have that isolated risk for strong to severe thunderstorms that could contain wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. So far this evening, we've only seen 40 miles per hour. And there's also going to be the potential for some localized flooding as well. You know the drill. We've been doing this song and dance for a while now, but some of the areas that did see some more of the significant rainfall from the past 48 hours, especially over towards Greensboro, you could see under that medium threat for excessive rainfall. And they've already had a flash flood warning that was issued, I'd say around 4 p.m. This afternoon. So it's been active all across the Carolinas. Outside now, it is 96 in Charlotte, where you see the 80s. That is actually rain-cooled air, which probably feels still a little bit muggy, but certainly a nice relief. 83 in Monroe, 84 in Cheraw, 88 in Lancaster, but still well into the 90s in places like Lincoln and over towards Shelby. And that's making it feel like 98 as you step out the door in Lincoln, feeling like 102 here in Charlotte, 101 over towards Rock Hill, and 102 over in Albemarle. We are starting to approach the 7 p.m. hour, so if you have any plans to grill out or maybe go out to dinner on the patio, definitely would recommend doing that indoors, as temperatures will hang on likely into the lower 90s as we head throughout the next hour, starting to fall into the upper 80s by the time we head to around 8 o'clock, with a slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm at any point during the evening hours. Now, rain chances will fizzle out around midnight tonight, and as we do, temperatures will fall into the lower 70s, and a few areas of patchy dense fog could develop by tomorrow morning, especially in the places that do get in on the rainfall for today. Tomorrow's forecast will add more cloud cover to the mix, so overall it won't be as hot as it was today. Today we reached the upper 90s. For tomorrow we'll be in the lower 90s, which is right where we should be for this time of year, and even close to 80 degrees up towards the high country. Of course, factoring in the humidity, it's still going to be feeling like the upper 90s out there, so just take those necessary heat precautions. Heat streak today marked the 8th consecutive afternoon that we have seen high temperatures, 90 degrees or above, and we've got only 90-degree days in this upcoming forecast, but we are tallying our 90-degree days. This is something that meteorologist Chris Mulcahy actually made. So far this year, including today, we have had 28 days of 90-degree days and above. This time last year, we had 23, and the average per year is around 44. But the most that we've gotten was 88 back in 1954, and the least we had was 8 back in 1967. So we are halfway through July, and we've got a lot more heat to go. In fact, this has been the 8th warmest July up to this point in Charlotte, with the average high close to around 93 degrees with the average low 73. So what's the weather impact for this week? Well, I've kind of just said it. We're going to be feeling the heat, slightly cooler as we head into midweek, with another warm up expected for this weekend with daily pop-up thunderstorms in the forecast. So right now, another check on Doppler radar. Still have that severe thunderstorm warning outside of our area. This is further off to the east over towards Durham. This was tagged with that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. Oh, amazing. Right on cue. Live view. This is from Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill. A nice view of that Raising Cane's. I have been to that Raising Cane's, and it would be a good evening to go grab some chicken tenders. Very stormy outlook. You can see a couple lightning strikes in the distance, but this is the conditions that we will be dealing with as we head throughout the next several hours. So switching to Doppler radar, still have that downpour that is now developed over towards Mecklenburg County, starting to push out of East Charlotte over towards the Matthews, Mint Hill area, over towards that I-485 loop over towards East Charlotte. But still, that biggest downpour extending from Unionville, Marshville, New Salem, all the way into Ansonville. This is packing a punch with intense rainfall rates, as well as lots of lightning and gusty winds up to around 30 to 40 miles per hour. Still got that cell over towards Waysboro and that cell over towards Cheraw and Society Hill, producing some heavy downpours. So futurecast, again, we'll see that action continue through the late evening, all the way through about midnight. Once we lose that daytime heating, rain chances will fizzle out. By the time we get into your Tuesday morning, few areas of patchy dense fog will be possible, like I mentioned, especially in the areas that do get in on some of the rainfall for today. And then here we go. More cloud cover will be added to the mix. And then once we get a little bit more instability in the atmosphere, a downpour will be possible from midday all the way through about midnight. And guess what? We do it all again for Wednesday as well. So this really is the pattern going forward for this week. So do want you to stay prepared, especially if you do have any summer outdoor activities, as localized flooding, gusty winds with strong thunderstorms, and frequent lightning will all be a threat. So again, keep an eye on the sky and make sure to download that WCNC app, because you can track those showers and storms in real time right on your phone, right on your hand, especially if you do have any events. As we head throughout the work week tomorrow, like I mentioned, dip in temperatures. That does not last long. In fact, we'll be well into the lower to middle 90s as we head into your Thursday, and bringing the heat right back as we head towards the end of the work week. So peak heat index for today was actually well above 100. We'll be in the upper 90s, feeling like that Tuesday and Wednesday, feeling like the triple digits as we end out the work week. So 7-day forecast, putting this all together, you can see temperatures briefly cooler. We will be heating right back up, middle 90s as we head towards the weekend, with overall lower rain chances as we head towards the end of the work week. Now, what we are going to be watching for is keeping an eye on the tropics and see if that potentially we could see some tropical cyclone development that could throw some extra tropical moisture our way as we head towards the end of the work week. Hopefully, that will not be the case. Now, we do have a live view, I believe, Brian. I'm seeing this image, and I'm wondering what it is.
Laugh. I found the wasp. He's riding the windshield wiper.
Okay. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I ran the windshield wiper on the camera in Monroe because it was raining, and the wasp revealed himself. He's at the bottom right of the screen. Oh, there he goes.
Okay, right, that's what I was looking at. I was like, I don't know what's happening here. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not a very good producer, but I was trying not to laugh while you're doing your forecast because I could see the windshield wiper and the wasp just going back and forth.
Wait, pause. Did you say there is a windshield wiper on the camera?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is.
Actually, I did not know this as well.
So. Oh, there's more than one wasp.
There must be a nest. And there's someone that has to maintain these cameras, right? Has to go up there.
They are not happy about this windshield wiper.
Wow.
I'm going to stop it now.
Okay, well, they're enjoying this nice view for us. We will move on now to some lightning safety. Now, over this past weekend, it was pretty busy, and unfortunately, we did get our 10th confirmed lightning fatality, and this was actually a lightning strike that occurred on June 29th. So, this 36-year-old man has now succumbed to his injuries. And unfortunately, this was over towards Columbus, Ohio, and it is now the 10th confirmed lightning fatality just this past year. So I want to get to this next graphic that I have to kind of show you all of the lightning fatalities that we've been seeing per state. So again, with that one over towards Ohio, but I do want to highlight one of the other ones that I saw as well. A 53-year-old man was struck by lightning on Sunday, June 29th, and this was over towards Pender County, North Carolina. Unfortunately, that was the second lightning fatality in North Carolina this year. And since 2006, North Carolina has now had a total of 24 lightning deaths. I also know that North Carolina ranks in the top 10 for lightning strikes as well, which oddly enough, South Carolina is not within the top 10. They're actually one of the states that has a lower amount of lightning strikes, which doesn't necessarily make any sense. But water-related activities do encompass about 34% of lightning strikes out there. So just keep in mind to be safe out, especially if you are outdoors in the summertime. We also got this storm report in from Saturday afternoon, and this was over towards Alexander County, over towards Taylorsville, and a 50-year-old man was struck by lightning at a golf course. He was transported to the hospital and thankfully is expected to recover. There was a lot of lightning with this system, and just with the nature of these summer pop-up thunderstorms, I mean, you could see on our Doppler radar that cluster of storms that develop within an hour and they intensify, and a lot of lightning can grow within this system. So do be aware, again, any outdoor events that you may be having. These are a couple of lightning safety tips that I do have and do want to share. Okay. So whenever you see a thunderstorm or see it on radar, you want to move to a safe shelter, preferably a building. Stay indoors 30 minutes after the last sound of thunder, and do not stay outside, remain near water, or use a faucet or shower or use plugged-in electronics. I know a couple people think that that's a myth that you should do or are able to do, but do not do that. And in fact, we do have a wonderful video about lightning safety with our very own Miles.
And this incident serves as a reminder on how to prepare for storms before they roll in.
Take caution for sure.
Summer comes with the chance for more storms. The concern from health experts like Dr. Matthew Sabatini, people often wait too long to seek shelter.
Try to avoid metal objects if possible, large trees, and just try to take shelter if it's available.
According to the National Weather Service, lightning kills about 20 people each year in the United States and injures hundreds more. WCNC Charlotte meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees says you can't always assume you're not close enough to lightning.
There was actually a study in Oklahoma that there was a storm that there was lightning that struck more than 100 miles from the parent thunderstorm. So that means that it could be storming in Davidson, you could live in Pineville, and that doesn't mean that you're safe from a lightning strike.
Dr. Sabatini says that lightning strikes can impact more than just where you were hit.
You know, you can get burns. It can cause muscle breakdown. It can cause abnormal heart rhythms, arrhythmias. You know, you can develop long-term effects such as cataracts of the eyes. So it can really cause a lot of issues to the body.
And experts stress some of the best ways to minimize your risk of being struck by lightning include staying informed, planning ahead, and being overly cautious. And when in doubt, seek shelter and wait it out. In Iredell County, I'm Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
Great information there. And Lily, you had something to mention?
Yeah, we actually, as Brad always says, if thunder roars, go indoors. That's like our big slogan around here. So if you ever hear thunder or anything, make sure you go inside.
Yes, it's a cheesy slang, but it does work. And we've got a lot of thunderstorm chances in this forecast, so very relevant information. Now, I do want to turn in on the tropics because we got an area tagged by the National Hurricane Center. Now has been upgraded to about a 20% chance of tropical cyclone development over the next 48 hours, but a 30% chance as we head into the next 7 days. So it's all due to this low pressure system that's basically getting steered by this Bermuda high. Eventually will move from the Atlantic over the panhandle of Florida, where it then will enter the warm waters of the Gulf. And it's this zone that is tagged for that tropical cyclone development. So we could see something potentially by Thursday and Friday. What we will be watching for is where this low pressure system actually ends up tracking, because if it tracks a little bit more north or more south, that will have a high impact on whether or not this turns into a tropical depression, storm, or even a hurricane. If it tracks further south and is able to gain a little bit more strength and intensity over those warm waters, then it will likely become a storm or even potentially our first named hurricane of the season. But if it stays up a little bit north, then may just become a tropical depression or just a low pressure system that brings disorganized showers and thunderstorms all across the Gulf Coast states there. So do have that surface analysis, surface map over the next 38 hours. You can see that low pressure system is actually going to be driving in a little bit of extra tropical moisture across the Carolinas, eventually sweeping across Florida, and this is going to be bringing lots of rainfall. So if we wait about 5 seconds, the colors will pop up on the rainfall forecast. There we go, on cue. So this is over the next 3 days. You can see some of the areas highlighted in that red. That's potentially anywhere from 3 to over 4 inches of rainfall. So that's pretty significant. In addition, this is also going to be bringing a rip current risk as well over towards the Gulf Coast states. Don't cancel any plans, but something certainly to keep an eye on. Now, we have not had a hurricane so far this season. We have had 3 named tropical storms, Andrea, Barry, and Chantal. Andrea, the first one that we had, was a fish storm, meaning it did not impact anyone. Barry and Chantal, of course, did devastating damage, flooding damage to both Texas and North Carolina. So even though it doesn't strengthen to a hurricane, this next system, or it just remains a tropical storm or tropical depression, does not mean that it is not going to be having impacts. Wind is sometimes a secondary impact with these systems as well. Flooding is going to be probably the biggest concern with that. We do also have a wonderful weather IQ from meteorologist Chris Mulcahy on how hurricanes form.
June 1st officially begins the 183-day hurricane season that ends on November 30th and peaks September 10th. But for them to form, conditions have to line up, and the better they do, the stronger they become. Let's raise your hurricane IQ. Let's bake a hurricane. Here are the basic ingredients you need. 1. A pre-existing weather pattern. 2. Surface water temperatures of 80 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. 3. A low wind shear environment. And 4. The atmosphere has to be juiced up with a lot of moisture. Okay, let's bake a hurricane. Over warm waters, rising moisture condenses into cold air, forming multiple thunderstorms. This flow left undisturbed will eventually start to rotate into a low pressure system due to the spin of the earth. More air rushes in and more thunderstorms release heat and power into the storm. When the circulation becomes a closed low with a well-defined center, the storm officially is a tropical cyclone. When maximum surface winds are 38 miles per hour or less, it'll be numbered as a tropical depression. Winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour are tropical storm strength. At this point, a storm gets a name. Once winds within a storm reach 74 miles per hour, a hurricane is born. This is the ideal structure of a hurricane. Too much wind shear will disrupt the formation. The faster these warm core storms will spin, the more likely the eye wall will form. The strength of a hurricane is measured using the Saffir-Simpson scale. Category 3 or greater is classified as a major hurricane, causing devastating and catastrophic damage. All tropical cyclones, regardless of wind speeds, can bring an extensive amount of rainfall and flooding, especially the slower they move. With WCNC Charlotte, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. We're now all a little bit more weather-wise.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for that wonderful information as we enter into some of the more active hurricane season months. Of course, we are also looking back at Hurricane Bertha. This was 29 years ago. It made landfall July 12th of 1996. This was before I was born, so I do not have any personal stories of this, but I did some research. So it made landfall between Topsail Beach and Wrightsville Beach with a max wind gust of about 108 miles per hour in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Now, it did make landfall as a Category 2 hurricane, again, over towards the kind of southeastern coast of North Carolina, and it is the third strong hurricane to make landfall in the Carolinas in July, I should say. So Hurricane Bertha, looking back, formed, it was a Cape Verde hurricane, which basically means sometimes for the Atlantic hurricane season, you'll get what's called an African easterly wave. That is basically a wave that comes off of Africa, gets pushed out into the Atlantic, where then it has a long time to gather strength in the warm Atlantic waters. Sometimes it eventually makes its way over to the Caribbean and eventually towards the United States. And these are typically some of the more big and unsettling hurricanes that we normally see. So that was Hurricane Bertha, again, back in July of 1996, around 29 years ago. It did cause 12 deaths and about $250 million in damage. We have only seen, the Carolinas have only seen 2 other July hurricanes that have been Cat 2 or above. That was Hurricane Arthur that made landfall in the Outer Banks. That's July 3rd of 2014. And then an unnamed hurricane in Charleston, July 14th of 1916. So some interesting information there. We will now switch over to get an update on some of the flooding that has been happening over portions of the hill country over in Texas, as they have been getting hammered once again with heavy rainfall. This is an area that does not want to see a drop of rain in this forecast. And in fact, I will say Texas was under a pretty extreme drought before all of this flooding. And then now that drought has been basically eliminated. That gives you an idea of how much rain has fallen for a week after that event to have the drought completely eliminated in that area. So additional rainfall is expected, and we have footage from the scene as well. So unfortunately, search and rescue operations are still ongoing, especially towards the Guadalupe River and portions of the hill country. So all of this rainfall is unfortunately not helping with search and rescue efforts. And I do know that they had to kind of back off on those operations as well because of that risk for flooding and because of that risk for those high waters as well. Texas has also been doing a good job of mitigating some of the flood waters. So it's been going from lake to lake to lake. And I'm from the hill country, so I'll say a couple of lakes, like Lake LBJ over towards Lake Travis. These are all the lakes around Austin that are typically for recreational use. So unfortunately, I do know that Lake Travis is actually closed to the public because with these floodgates and these floodwaters getting distributed from lake to river or river to lake, it's bringing a lot of storm debris with it as well. So sometimes when we say don't venture into floodwaters, it's not only because you can get knocked down, but it's also because you don't know what's in those floodwaters as well. So I do have an update on satellite and radar as well, as this is a loop of the past 6 hours, and you can see what is a mesoscale convective vortex, which is basically a low pressure system that develops within a mesoscale convective system, which is a fancy term. Basically, it's what you can see kind of like a spinning low pressure system that first creates strong thunderstorms, but eventually just turns into a panel of heavy rainfall. And this can last for hours. So early on this morning, there were flash flood warnings kind of around the same areas that do not need any more rainfall. Fortunately, though, as we look to the 6 and 7 o'clock hour, that has basically dissipated. So that is going to be good news. But estimated rainfall totals, this is just from the past 24 hours. Obviously, Kerrville is one of the areas that is along the Guadalupe River. Thankfully, only seeing around 1 inch of rain, one to around 2 to 3 inches, I would say. But where you see some of those bullseyes, that's over just north of Uvalde, close to 9 inches. And then over towards the southern portion of Texas, that's 10 to 12 inches of rainfall. Now this is the past 48 hours. So Kerrville definitely getting in on some of that deeper, heavy downpours. That's 3 to 5 inches. And then alongside I-10 over towards Sonora Junction, even more rain. So definitely a sad situation to unfold. Guys, do you have any inputs on that?
We have the package if you want to roll it.
Yes, let's roll the package.
Search and recovery efforts are continuing today. The Kerr County Sheriff says he'll believe they'll keep going strong for the next month or two, possibly up to 6 months. Commissioners in Kerr County also held their first meeting since the catastrophic flooding. Heavy rain over the weekend complicating search and rescue efforts in central Texas.
The search continues. Unfortunately, we lost about a half or three-quarter of a day yesterday to the river going up. But like I said, like y'all said, I've been assured by the governor and the president, we will have the resources to get the job done.
More than 2,000 people from multiple agencies are deployed to assist in the recovery efforts, according to the Kerr County Sheriff.
And search and rescue remains our top priority. But we've moved on to also include recovery. And that's where we had the people out in the river basin doing a lot of work. We're trying to get a handle on things. So just be patient with it as we go forward.
As the community grapples with the July 4th flooding that killed more than 130 people, including 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas, messages of appreciation and concerns over rebuilding continue.
I would love to have the ability to understand where businesses can look for assistance. Ourselves, we lost several $1 million in this disaster, as well as everybody else.
This tragic event has proven the greatness of humanity. Please pray for the families who were affected. Thank you for blessing Kerr County with kind hearts and love of mankind.
It has been more than a week since a victim was found alive. Nearly 150 people across the state are still missing, 140 in Kerr County alone. And during the first meeting of city officials since the floods, one council member requested the city to provide additional security for staff members citing threats, but she did not elaborate on the specific threats and asked the city to be proactive. In Kerrville, Texas, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Difficult images to watch. So, of course, our thoughts and prayers are with the hill country of Texas. Those images are very reminiscent on what we saw with Hurricane Helene, which are high impact areas. These are flood prone areas, mountain foothills, low-lying roads, and poor drainage areas. Do want to get to the forecast now. We've been seeing some strong thunderstorms out there. Want to end with this live view that we have potentially over towards Monroe. You can see some strong thunderstorms out into the distance. So if you got any evening plans on this Monday night, maybe you're staying in or maybe you're headed out, just keep an eye on the sky and that radar, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
I wonder if our wasp friend is still there.
He was just there a second ago. He's hanging out.
I know. I do not think they like the windshield wiper.
I just saw him. He's right there.
There he is.
There. Hanging on for dear life.